Welcome back once again. As we earlier said, we're going to be embarking over the important visit by Egypt's top diplomat, Dr. Badr Abdul Ati, to Luanda, where he was accompanied by a delegation of Egyptian businessmen and leaders and investors and private sector representatives. And there was a lot of highlights on this particular visit to Luanda. With us over the phone is Dr. Monica Williams, and she is a professor of economics, Graceland University, the United States. Good morning, Dr. William. Hello. Good morning, Dr. Monica.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank
you for having me today.
We need to embark and take a comprehensive look over this important visit to Luanda, and of course, how crucial and important is this visit at this timing of the year, and especially that there are lots of happenings inside the surroundings.
Of course. As you mentioned, the timing is very critical, and this visit represents a qualitative shift in bilateral relations, moving cooperation from just largely political and symbolic framework towards an institutionalized and economic result-oriented partnership. This meeting very important and reflects a clear understanding and political will and strategic vision between the two countries. If we try to read more or details, at the political level, the Joint Committee signals Egypt growing emphasis on deepening its engagement with Switzerland, Africa as part of broader recapitulation of its African policy at all. The reference to the historical nature of Egypt and Angola relationships, coupled with the emphasis of elevating ties to strategic partnership, it's underscore Egypt's intention to position itself as a long-term development and security partner rather than a transitional actor. And this approach aligns with Egypt's post-24 Africa strategy, and which prioritizes sustainable and institutional mechanism over ad hoc diplomatic initiatives, for instance. And the meeting tried to translate strong political relation into tangible economic outcomes. If we try to mention the statistics for 2024, the total volume of bilateral trade between Egypt and Angola was approximately $34.2 million. The combined value of goods exchanged during the year, this figure reflects a significant increase from $21.3 million in 2023, which represents nearly 60% growth year-on-year. So it's a very important and a very critical collaboration.
Right. What were the important highlights during this visit, and also the activities by the top diplomat himself? Because he was accompanied by different personalities in this visit.
Of course, there is a lot of topics and a lot of files which is discussed and very important. Health and pharmaceutical cooperation constitutes a pillar of strategic depth in bilateral relations. The sign of memorandum of understanding between Egyptian Drug Authority and Angola Health Regulatory Post reflect Egypt's growing use of health diplomacy as a tool of influence in Africa. And by supporting Angola efforts to achieve level 3 maturity under World Health Organization standards, Egypt is exploring regulatory expertise and how the knowledge of manufacturing know-how, thereby strength post-political development outcomes and long-term institutional linkage. And of course, there is another topics which is reflect on or focus on infrastructure and logistics development around the corridor of Lobito corridor, which is very and particularly significant in that, as we try to also focus on in that enhance Africa internal connectivity and global trade integration. So engagement in Lobito corridor not only strengthens Egypt and Angola ties, but also reflects that Egypt tried to be in continental supply chain and the transport networks, reinforcing Egypt's role as a key African economic actor.
Right. It's very obvious that the Egyptian-African ties developed greatly under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Give us the main important stops, and also how did we move from one level to a whole new level under his leadership?
If we try, I'm just mention the Lobito project, of course, which is try to transform the Egypt methodology and mechanism to tackle with the Africa as well. And if we try to, as you mentioned, that a key feature of Egypt and Africa relationship is an institutional and multilateral approach. Egypt emphasizes structured cooperation through continental and regional frameworks, particularly with within the African Union. It's privatized long-term institutional mechanism over ad hoc diplomacy, for instance. And Egypt's engagement is increasingly centralized on the development cooperation, infrastructure building, capacity development, and knowledge transfer, aligned with political relations with tangible socio-economic outcomes. So it's very important. And if we try to focus on security and stability cooperation, Egypt and Africa relations plays a strong emphasis on counterterrorism and peacekeeping and security sector reform, which is based on understanding that development and the stability are mutually reinforcing, and the human development is a very important factor when we try to mention the relations between Egypt and Africa through training programs and technical assistance. Egypt contributes to building institutional and human capacity in African states, of course.
Right. It's very obvious also that Angola is supporting and empowering the Palestinian question amongst the countries who are supporting Palestine. So if you'd like to elaborate over this.
The African countries, and there is a lot of common understanding regarding supportive stance toward Gaza Strip, which is emphasized the protection of civilians, respect for international humanitarian law, and the necessity of addressing the humanitarian crisis. Angola position aligned with broader African calls. So it's an African cause and African initiative for de-escalation and the humanitarian access and just political solution to Palestinian issue.
Right. At the end of the day, I would like to thank you so much, Dr. Monica William. You are a professor of economics, Graceland University at the United States of America. And I guess this brings us to the end of this edition of the Breakfast Show as well. Many thanks to all of you. Until we see you again tomorrow morning, that's a goodbye.